What's up guys, we're watching Live Fight TCG. Just a quick update on my Tortured Existence deck. This is going to be a real fast deck profile. Just uploading a bunch of videos real fast for yesterday and the weekend. So if I'm not going into enough detail for you, I do have a lot of explanation in my previous videos. Otherwise just feel free to ask any questions or put any comments in the comment section. So just quickly running through the deck. So we got 4 Tortured Existence. Of course, we'll just start with the lands. 3 Rot Farm, 4 Jungle Hollow, 4 Golgari Guildgate, 1 Evolving Wilds, 5 Forest, and 7 Swamps. So this is the exact same as the previous videos. Like I said, I don't really feel that this is tuned, but I don't have any obvious problems with it, so I just keep running it this way. At the moment I'm more focused on trying to fix the spells, so I don't feel that this is bad per se, but maybe it's too many or too few come to play tap lands, and maybe I want to try and fit cycling lands in it somehow. That's what I'm looking at for the mana. The non-creature spells, of course, 4 Tortured Existence, I've already said that. Oh, truck going past with a bus maybe, I guess you can hear that. 4 Commune with the Gods, standard. Necessary, great card. And then, like, just per usual, the rest of the deck is creatures. 4 Putrid Leech, fantastic, no complaints there. 3 Brownscales, same as last week again, seems to be working well. 3 Crypt Rats, after increasing it to 3, I'm still happy with this. It's just such a good card by itself. You know, you don't really feel bad ever for drawing it, and it's just a really powerful card. So it helps in situations where you can't rely on Tortured Existence. So 3 Crypt Rats, seems great. 2 Krosan Tuskers now. Last video I think I only had 1, so I bumped this up to a 2nd copy. It's just like a green divination basically, and it can't be countered or interacted with in any meaningful way. Sometimes in the late game, I suppose you could return it and cast it as like a big 6/5. In some matchups that's actually decent, but it's never really come up yet. But you know, it just seems good in theory. Yeah, so I'll talk a bit more about the idea behind this card towards the end of the video, I think. So yeah, increased to 2 copies, and I think that is quite good. 2 Stinkweed Imp. 5 Dredges seems like a good number, it seems to be working well. And I think the 2 Brownscale, 3 Imp is the better split. 2 Spore Frog. Alex Ullman posted an article, I think it was an article on Shadow Fireball, or at least he posted on Reddit about it, where he played the green-black Tortured Existence at side events at GP Hartford, I think it was. And he didn't play any Spore Frog, at least not in the main deck. I can't remember about the sideboard, but I'll put the link in the description. But I think that's wrong. Like, this card, while it's not exciting, it's just such a big deal in so many different matchups that I think it's wrong to cut it. But at the same time, there are some matchups where it's not very good. So you don't want to have 3 of it in your deck, like Crypt Rats for example, because there are more situations where it's just a bad card by itself. So I still like 2 copies of Spore Frog. Then we have 2 Fume Spitter. So in the previous video I talked about maybe cutting 1 Fume Spitter because it, you know, in matchups where you don't need to kill 1/1s, it's like a bit of an underwhelming card. But Delver is both popular and really good, so you can't really ever feel too bad for having these in your deck. I did mention maybe playing Ruthless Ripper in a previous video, and I did test for a while playing one Fume Spitter and one Ruthless Ripper instead of two Fume Spitters. I just like Fume Spitter better, just because, like I said, the Delver matchup is really important in Pauper, and even in matchups where you don't outright kill something with this, like against red-white, for example, like they don't have anything with 1 toughness, like halving the stats on a Glinthawk is fine, or like shrinking Palace Sentinel so you can, when you rats for 3, you will kill it. Little things like that are not great, but are acceptable, and in the matchups where this is good, so Delver and Tribe, it's really good and sort of necessary. You know, Delver's a really good deck. It's quite difficult to beat it, so you need all the help you can get, basically. So 2 Fume Spitter seems correct. I'd stick with 2 Fume Spitters. 2 Grave Scrabbler, I talked about this last week, well not last week, whenever I uploaded the last video. My opinion on this hasn't changed. It's good at 2, don't need Sanitarium Skeleton. If you want to put this back in the graveyard, you just summon Crypt Rats and pop it for 2. Penumbra Spider, in the first video I had this, in the second video I cut it again and now I've added it back. It just is good against many things in the format. It just lines up really well as like a mid-range creature against the threats you expect to face. So I added this back, and it's fine. Sometimes not exciting, but sometimes it's just what you need. So it's sort of like a flexible slot, but I'm pretty happy to play at least 1 copy of this in the main deck. 1 Horror of the Broken Lands. So, you know, as I keep saying, it looks really cool, the triggered ability with Tortured Existence, but the issue is that you don't want to tap out for like a 5 mana guy just to have it. You need to know where, basically, is the issue with it. But the fact that it cycles for 1 means that it helps you dig towards Tortured Existence or whatever. Once you have dredges in your graveyard, you can discard the dredger to bring back this and then cycle it and then dredge. So you like turbo mill through your deck if you need to quickly find a Spore Frog or something like that. And then also, if you don't have a dredger, but you have this, and you do have Tortured Existence, then you discard any creature, return this, cycle, then you can discard any creature, return this, cycle. So it helps you dig through your deck in that way. So it's not the like wow card that it seems to be on face value, but I've come around to saying that playing 1 copy of this is probably right. 1 Form of the Black Rose. Not as high on this card as I used to be, because a lot of the time when you would be happy to make yourself the Monarch, especially if your opponent hasn't brought out the Monarch into play yet, for this deck you would already be winning anyway, and I've sort of found, maybe I'm playing it wrong, but like putting this out in a sort of like even situation seems to go bad more often than not. So while I still think this card is probably correct to play, you do have to be a little bit careful with it, and it's sort of on the watch list for maybe being a little bit win more. Tilling Treefolk is still around. There's having a lot of competition from some other cards, which I'll talk about later. You know, think about like the Krosan Tusker idea the Krosan Tuskers that I showed before. 1 Caterpillar, still good. 1 Mindlash Sliver. I still think this is okay. My opinion of it's gone down a little bit, but the the lock is just such a powerful thing to be able to do. Like your opponent has to awkwardly play around having cards in their hand all the time once they see this. And you know, if they don't, then sometimes you just win. So the upside is really high, and like I said last time, having a madness outlet for your Grave Scrabblers in situations where you don't have Tortured Existence, like that seems like such a corner case reason, but it keeps coming up. So keeping the Mindlash Sliver for now. Deadly Recluse, like in the last video, I basically said this card was rubbish, and that if you want to reach blocker, then the spider's just better. I mean, the Penumbra Spider, I mean, they're both spiders, but yeah, this spider would be better. Sorry, I can't tell where the glare is at, but you know, hopefully you can see this. Anyway, so even though I said Deadly Recluse was bad, and I don't think it's great, I've kept it around because it's fine. Having a Death Touch guy that can block anything is pretty good. Delver has a lot of 1/1s, which this just eats. That is also good. The fact that it only costs 2 mana is good, because if Delver kills it, you can bring it back and deploy it again for relatively little cost. So, you know, like, I'm not blown away by this, but I'm not really sure what would be the appropriate thing to replace it with. So it's still here. Any ideas on this, please give me some suggestions, because otherwise this guy's going to be around forever. Anyway, so one card that I haven't flipped over yet, which I did play last week, was the Faerie Macabre. Sorry, I just dig that out of the box. If you don't know what that is. Where are we at? One moment, caller. Oh, and I lost it. Professional YouTuber. Here it is. For Macabre. Yeah, so last week, or the last video, I said I was impressed with this card, and I guess I was, and now I'm not. So the problem is, against some decks, you need to get to the late game to win, and this includes probably the 2 most popular decks, which are Delver and Boros Monarch, because you can't really beat those unless you get to the late game where you have a lot of mana, you have Crypt Rats going, you have and you have the Brownscale going, so you're gaining life, you're out of range, they can't really deal much damage to you per turn. If they try and make a big board, you just Crypt Rats and kill it all. Like, this is the situation you need to get to, and it sounds, you know, like a big demand, but you know, they can't really interact with your Tortured Existence, so it's not too difficult to do. All we have to do is not die and get enough lands into play. So this is part of it doesn't block very well, obviously, so it doesn't help you with the not dying part, but it finds lands, so you know, it helps you with the get enough lands into play. So the problem is that when you're relying on trying to get lands into play against these matchups, your vector for doing that can't be a 2 mana thing that gets bolted for no value. And you know, the fact that it can whiff, like it's unreliable, is, you know, that's a letdown as well. And then also, you know, the cool thing that it does, the fact that you can tap it to draw a card basically when you have a dredger going, it's just a bit too win more. You know, it's only good when you have everything already going, basically, and then you never ever really want. I never found myself going like, cool, have everything set up. I've got Grave Scrabbler, I've got Tortured Existence. What's the first thing I'm going to return? Faerie Macabre, because I can play that and I'm getting even more cards per turn. Wow, like, you know, that never happened. It'd always be like, oh, I'll just return a Putrid Leech because I'm already ahead in the situation and I don't need more cards. I just want to affect the board. You know, that was the situation that always came up instead. Like, I never wanted to return this because I was going to slam down my Phyrex in Arena and bury my opponent in cards. You know, that was never needed. So the fact that in games where you wanted to get to that situation, it made your opponent's bolts really good. Like, that's the other thing. If you look through the rest of the creatures, there's almost nothing that your opponent can bolt and get value out of it, like if you play around it correctly. Like, for example, if you play, you know, you're trying to block and you play Stinkweed Imp and they bolt that, well, that's kind of like a 1-for-1, that's bad tempo, but at least you can get it back and do it again. You know, if you play your Crypt Rats with mana open, they can't really bolt that. Putrid Leech can't be bolted. Fume Spitter, you play it and kill a thing immediately, they can't bolt that. Like, all the rest of your deck is like a value plan that can't really be bolted effectively, like, except for this. So it just felt like a weak link in a lot of situations. So that's part of the reason why I have 2 Krosan Tuskers now, because it gives you that value consistently in a way that doesn't interact with your opponent's removal. So yeah, so at first I was playing none of this card and now I'm up to 2. I think this kind of thing is exactly what you want. And I also cut the Fright Crawler last week, which I mentioned. That was bad. I haven't missed that at all. And continuing on this like land value train, the last main deck card is new. It's 1 Yavimaya Elder. So 3 mana, 2/1. When it dies, you get to search your library for 2 lands and put them into your hand. 2 basics. And you can sacrifice it to draw a card. So so it's kind of like a third Krosan Tusker that's a bit different. You can cast it, and it has an impact on the board. Like, it could potentially trade with a ninja or like a Chittering Rats or something, and you still get the value out of it. Like, if you can slam it down and they can bolt it, and then you don't get to draw a card, but then you still get some value out of it. And then in matchups where it's like very control-y, yeah, you know, like the way I see this card is that your opponent probably should bolt it because you don't have that many other things that are vulnerable to being bolted. But if they do that, then you're still getting value on them. So this card seems like it might have some potential. So there you go. So this is unknown. These are good. Iffy on these, and maybe this, because I'm not sure how important it is to get lands out of your graveyard compared to getting them out of your library. Like, are you ever going to run out of lands in your library? Probably not. Or at least not in a situation where you would want to have more lands on the battlefield, right? So the Treefolk might be just a bit wrong. Like, it might just be worse than the Elder or the Tusker. And then this is still probably, the Thorn of the Black Rose is still probably solid. But my opinion of that card has gone down by a little bit. So that's where I'm at compared to last time. Sideboard, again, it's a bit like the mana base. Like, I'm not too worried at this stage about getting this perfect. 3 deadweights still. You know, these are good in a bunch of different matchups. I haven't been disappointed with these so far. I cut 2 of the Tainted Wells because, like I said, I just keep never using them, and I still haven't. So yeah, I still don't even know if they're good. I added 2 Gnaw to the Bone. I got to decide whether I want to board what matchups I want to board these in against. obviously they're good against burn, but do you want them against anything else? That's something I need to find out. So if you have any ideas about that, please let me know. But just as a high impact card versus burn, it seems fine to use 2 slots on this. I've got the 3rd Faerie Macabre now. I think there's too many weird things going on in Pauper that this is just good enough to have 3 copies of. Like, it seems worth it, versus the weird like linear and combo decks that are around. Quagmire Druid, maybe this is unnecessary, because you know I have the Caterpillar main deck, and then I also play the 1 Yavimaya Elder in the sideboard, so having all 3 of those is maybe too much. I just attached to that. Maybe I'm too attached to the like cool technology that I found, but maybe it's not actually that good. It could be like a metagame call. Like, I could see some metagames where this effect is really strong, but maybe it's just overkill. Like, I have too much artifact enchantment destruction already. I got the combo online of this plus the Fume Spitter against Affinity, and wow, you know, it does kill a lot of things really quickly. And against stuff like red-white, the Monarch deck, it's just like a big guy that you can board in that helps to close out the game. Like, you just want to board out the small dinky stuff and have big stuff that avoids bolt and threatens to win the game. And of course this does that, and it also blows up like a Journey to Nowhere or something, so the 1 Yavimaya Elder on the sideboard is really good. Then I have 1 more Spore Frog for the matchups where you want that. 1 Faceless Butcher. I guess if you're expecting to play against like Ulamog's Crushers or Heroic guys, this could be good, but this doesn't seem too amazing to me right now, so this could definitely be cuttable. And then the last card is 1 Augur of Skulls. So I forgot to mention this actually, this was another card that I cut. I used to think this would be like essential, the like in the main deck, as like a really good solid one of that you'd always want to have. The problem is that it's like I said before, sort of like your opponent is probably going to have some dead cards versus you, because your deck is pretty good versus removal. So your opponents might have some dead lightning bolts or something that they're happy to discard. The other thing is that you really want to try and get to the late game, and the problem that you have in the early game is that you fall behind on the board. So having a 2-mana 1/1 doesn't help with that problem, and neither does Mind Rot really. And you know, like against a sort of more controlling deck, being able to use Tortured Existence to bring back Mind Rot every turn could be cool. But against that kind of deck, if you're bringing back like a dude every turn with Tortured Existence, you're probably in a situation where you're already winning anyway. So the Augur of Skulls is just unnecessary. So I still felt that maybe you want to have this card against control decks still, so I put it to the sideboard. But that might be wrong, and maybe it's just totally unneeded. So if you've got any opinions on Augur of Skulls, you can chime in the comment section. After I cut it, I haven't really missed it at all. But like I said, there's so many like weird slots in the main deck, like the Deadly Recluse, that aren't great either. So, you know, I could easily see switching it back in for one of those if I change my mind later. So yeah, this is where we're at now. You know, it sounds kind of stupid, but like realizing that the Faerie is not good, and you know, that mindset change and how you need to play to win certain matchups. Like I've sort of seeing my win rate improve with it a bit more. So I think that's the main takeaway. from this video. So thanks for watching, like and subscribe. LiFi TCG signing out.